万華鏡車輪ガン。
Hello saudara-saudaraku di seluruh dunia. Apakah kita semua sadar bahwa kita selama ini memang sengaja diprogram untuk menolak realitas web? Diajarkan berulang-ulang sehingga menjadi familiar dan menjadi keyakinan, bahkan lebih kepercayaan kepada agama. Sejak dari kita kecil sampai sekarang, pemahaman tentang alam semesta sudah ditanamkan dalam otak kita kalau bumi itu bulat seperti bola. Matahari itu maha besar dan bumi itu mengitarinya secara terus-menerus tanpa pernah jatuh karena ada suatu gaya yang disebut gravitasi. Menipu umat manusia sedunia untuk menjauhkan kita dari konsep ketuhanan. Ideologi sains modern. Sudah saatnya bagi kita untuk membuka mata, pikiran, betapa pentingnya suatu realitas untuk memahami sesama manusia, alam semesta, dan ketuhanan. Dalam serial video kali ini, saya akan membahas realitas bumi itu diam dan tak bergerak. Serta apa untungnya buat kita memahami suatu realitas. Ngapain mikirin bumi datar atau bulat? Yang penting kita cari duit untuk kebutuhan hidup. Ya, hal yang wajar, mengingat desakan ekonomi saat ini begitu tinggi. Kebanyakan orang emang hidup cari duit kemudian tua, pensiunan, dan mati. Sedikit orang yang mau cari duit dan ilmu yang bermanfaat untuk anak-anaknya. Mati pun kita tenang karena meninggalkan anak-anaknya dengan ilmu yang berlandaskan ketuhanan, alam semesta, dan rasa kemanusiaan.
It is the world
that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth. You are a slave born into a prison for your mind.
You are a disease, a cancer of this planet. You are a plague, and we are the cure.
So you're here to save the world.
Whoa.
Kembali ke topik pembahasan. Kita diajarkan kalau bumi berrotasi sekali dalam 24 jam dengan kecepatan 1700 km per jam, mengelilingi matahari dengan kecepatan 108.000 km per jam, dan di kemudian hari dikatakan mengelilingi pusat galaksi dengan kecepatan 782.000 km per jam. Wow, sungguh kecepatan yang luar biasa bukan? Bisakah Anda membayangkan? Kenapa kita tidak pernah merasakan perputaran bumi sama sekali? Pasti kita akan menjawab karena kecepatannya konstan, betul? Apa kita tidak bisa merasakan kecepatan konstan? Padahal kita sering mengalami di dalam kereta atau pesawat yang sangat cepat. Baru terasa apabila terjadi pengereman atau penambahan kecepatan. Namun, tahukah Anda apabila betul bumi mengelilingi matahari, tentulah lintasannya berbentuk elips. Sebagaimana pengamatan astronom Johannes Kepler lewat teori hukum Keplernya.
Kepler's law of planetary motion. Kepler's first law. The orbits of the planets are ellipses with the sun at one focus of the ellipse. There is no object at the other focus of the planet's orbit. The semi-major axis A of an orbit is the average distance between the planet and the sun. As a planet travels in its elliptical orbit, its distance from the sun and speed vary. A planet moves most rapidly when it is nearest the sun or at perihelion. A planet moves most slowly when it is the farthest from the sun or at aphelion. Kepler's second law. The line joining the planet to the sun sweeps out equal areas in equal times as the planet travels around the ellipse. This is also known as the law of equal areas. Suppose a planet takes 1 day to travel from point A to B. During this day, an imaginary line from the sun to the planet will sweep out an area. The same area will be swept every day. Here, the areas A1 and A2 are equal and the time T1 and T2 are also equal. Kepler's third law. The ratio of the squares of the revolutionary periods for two planets is equal to the ratio of the cubes of their semi-major axis. T square is directly proportional to R cube. So, T square by R cube is equal to Kepler's constant. Recapitulation. Kepler's law of planetary motion.
No stage,
Sukarno uses the United Nations to protest about Western intervention in his region.
I hate imperialism. I detest colonialism. And I fear the consequences of their last bitter struggle for life. We are determined that our nations and the world as a whole shall not be the plaything of one small corner of the world.
In recent months, more than 1 million people, most of them young, have protested against the new economic order called globalization. This represents one of the greatest popular movements since the 1960s. Surely never before has the human race enjoyed such amazing capacity to create wealth and reduce poverty. Yet never before has the gulf between rich and poor been so vast and inequality so widespread. The facts of globalization are revealing. A small group of powerful individuals are now richer than most of the population of Africa. Just 200 giant corporations dominate 1/4 of the world's economic activity. Is this the global village we are told is our future? Or is it merely an old project that used to be run by the divine right of kings and is now run by the divine right of multinational corporations and by the financial institutions and governments that back them? This film is about these new rulers of the world, and especially their impact on one country, Indonesia. Indonesia is where the old imperialism meets the new. This is a country that should not be poor. It's rich in almost everything. Mountains of copper and gold, oil, timber, and the skills and labor of its people. Colonized by the Dutch in the 16th century, Indonesia was plundered by the West for hundreds of years, a debt that is yet to be paid back.
Ratusan tahun lamanya Indonesia itu dihisap oleh negara-negara utara. Bukan hanya Indonesia, semua negara-negara kulit berwarna. Sehingga Barat menjadi kuat, menjadi makmur, menguasai keuangan dan perdagangan sampai sekarang. Nah, sekarang didikte oleh IMF, oleh Bank Dunia. Negeri yang begini kaya diubah menjadi negara pengemis sekarang, Indonesia. Karena tidak adanya karakter pada elit.
In 1967, the Time Life Corporation sponsored a conference in Switzerland that planned the corporate takeover of Indonesia. It was attended by the most powerful businessmen in the world, such as David Rockefeller. The giants of Western capitalism were represented. The oil companies, the banks, General Motors, British Leyland, ICI, British American Tobacco, Lehman Brothers, American Express, Siemens. Across the table were Indonesian leaders approved by General Suharto. For Western business, it was the start of the gold rush, which later became known as globalization.
I've never, ever heard of a situation like this for any country, where global capital essentially holds a meeting with state and hammers out the conditions of their own entry into the country. The conference went on for 3 days. The first day was when the Indonesians spoke and essentially made their case. They divided into 5 different sections on the second day. Sectoral meetings, mining in one room, food services, light industry in another, banking and finance in another, Chase Manhattan was there, and simultaneously they hammered out policies that were going to be acceptable to these global investors on a sector-by-sector basis. With each of the people going around the table saying, this is what we need to see, this, and they basically designed the legal infrastructure for investment in it.